We're in Fremont, which is
okay.
right on the east side of the bay there.
All right, it's time. It's time to go. So
we're
you want to introduce yourself there, Mr. Jim?
I'm Jim, and this week I did bring a camera, trail camera, if somebody wants to look at it. This one is a little wet, and what I found out is it gets wet over the face. Your lens will get wet, and the sensors will get wet. Is between the batteries and the unit, you have to have the separator there, or it absolutely will fog up. I didn't have any this week, so I had some fog. Did get a coyote this time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And the deer, I got baby deer.
I thought maybe the deer would lick the screen or something.
They have. This one's kind of out of the way, so it's not too bad. Turn over to you. Who are you, Art? Please introduce.
Yeah, my name's Art Elsey. I am here about 3-4 months out of the year. The rest of it I spend in Northern California. And this week I've been continuing to work on my cameras. Per your counsel, I cut the frame rate down from 24 frames per second to 4 frames per second, and guess what?
No problem.
No, not at all.
No.
It still manages to shut down the router if I put all 4 of them on it.
Wow.
So that router is the
Suspect.
well, it's the Cincy Bell POS version, all right, let me put it that way.
Zytel or
Zycel, yeah. So I'm finally going to have to bite the bullet. But I'm thinking of canning Cincy Bell also and going with Spectrum. So, it's a matter of biting a bullet, making a decision, and doing it at this point.
Get another router and use it for your traffic, and just plug it into the other.
Well, I could do that, but it's not clear what's shutting down on the Zycel. This is the 3rd one I've gotten from them, by the way.
Oh.
They say, well, bring it in, and so I bring it in, and they say, give me that. Here's a new one. And so I got a hunch there is a generic problem with these routers. So I'm thinking seriously about it. The other thing is I've only got 5 megabits per second down and 1.5 up, which is terrible, and have no fiber in the area. So
1.5 up. So you got 2 lines up. Is what they did. They gave you a special up. Mine's 750 up.
really,
Yeah.
That's normal for Cincy Bell. 750.
I'm AT&T, so.
well, at this point, I think Spectrum's going to get the nod. And by the way, the monthly rate is exactly the same.
Really? And the throughput ought to be much higher for Spectrum.
Well, it's
You just have to put up with Spectrum.
Yeah.
Well,
When it works, when it works.
People keep saying that, but on the other hand,
You're putting up.
I'm putting up with Cincy Bell, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you rather put up with, okay, I've got 400 meg when it's working, versus I only got 10 meg when it's working?
Well,
That's why I put up with
it's $45 from Spectrum for 200 down, 10 up. You can get 400 down, 20 up for I think another $10 a month, something like that.
Yeah,
So we're not talking about a huge amount of money
I thought
here.
the bottom was 400.
So-
I think-
how much for 200? How much was it worth?
For 200 down and 10 up, it's about $45 a month.
Wow.
there's
Do you have to bundle that with the phone?
No,
there's a
No, I
modal
told
charge
them I
on it
want
and something else.
broadband only.
It ends up being about $65.
But that's since
Oh, because of
our
your-
Spectrum.
Yeah, it's Spectrum.
Yeah.
We're paying like $75 for the 400 downside, and it's wonderful. It's worth the $75, but they're charging you. They charge you for a fee for the router and a fee for the modem.
Yeah.
And
Our
it's
router is hot.
decent.
It
It's a
runs
decent router.
Sorry?
It's a decent router. It's 2 separate units that
Yeah,
they gave
a
us.
modem and a router. Now that's what I want.
Yeah, it's 2 separate units that they gave us. So
Why don't you go
it's
out and buy your own and then use your own?
I could do that with the router. No.
With
Yeah, I
the
could do that
modem.
with the router, but I don't know if I could do that with the modem.
The modem, you have to use their modem.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
You don't.
I replaced theirs and turned it back in. I've got my own router and my own modem.
You
They
just have
don't-
to
Yeah, they don't require you to have it.
buy one
the
that's
only
compatible.
negative part of that is if you ever have a problem and you call them, they are going to say we cannot check what's going on. That's the only thing.
They can check and say, that's not our problem.
That's not our equipment. It's your problem.
Yeah.
Well, they should still be responsible to the MTU jack, so as long as they can talk to that, then, and that's 90% where they're going to tell them where the problem is. If it's
We've found that it's been very reliable.
Yeah.
We have had.
This is Spectrum?
Yes. We have had outages in the last year of maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Mine goes out, it's out for a week because that's how long it's taking this into tech now. They used to do it in 24 hours to 48 hours, now it's 7 days.
But you're in the boonies.
Yeah.
Ours, I really don't have a problem with with the service. I have a problem with the customer service.
Hey, at least they speak English now.
Anyway,
Hi.
you're up. It's your turn.
What?
You got here just in time. Say your
Better
name.
move-
Who are you?
Say your name.
Vicente. I'm late. But
Yeah.
The lateness.
The late Vicente. He's turning into Frank.
no, nothing to say. I didn't any project in near. Was working in the garden, trimming, cleaning, and that's it. for now.
That's a project, though.
Yeah, but I don't like.
I'm Leroy. I'm in charge of this mess this summer. My big project was actually his big project, and that's that edge around that table right there, which I could not have done without his help. It's awesome. I've got 3 robots in there and a little toy robot in there, and none of them can fall out now. And the grandkid has a real hard time getting up to them to pull them out of there and take them away. So it accomplished all the goals, and now I have a plug for the wire hole so we can actually hide the wire a little bit better, because we had come up with a different design, a different idea, and it didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. The wires were just everywhere. But now we got it all organized and set up. You're up, Barry. Other than that, I haven't worked on anything, so it's your turn.
I've been messing with a bunch of computer stuff, mostly
But
the
we don't know
VM
you.
cluster that keeps
'Cause-
exploding because it only talks one direction for some reason. And then this, which I just got quasi-functioning, which is talking to my Bluetooth chips to try to pair them. So for these, ultimately to make a Bluetooth remote control out of this.
You didn't say who you are, so we don't
Oh,
know you.
I'm Barry. I'm nobody.
I'm Don. One thing I've been monkeying around with lately, I have a bunch of computers, and some of them have multiple operating systems on. And I go in and check my mail, and then I get these messages back saying, you're not legitimate. You have to call in or check in or send an email back saying you're really you, because we've got
Senior
logins
administrator.
from a dozen different computers.
I know that thing.
I'm Mike, I'm glad to be here. And my router gets hot, my Sensei Bell router. Yeah.
Are you talking, this is a DSL router now, or DSL modem and router?
Yeah.
Mike's always happy to be
Zytel or
here.
Zytel or.
Yes.
I'm Ivan. I've been absent because to vacation, just returned last week. And I returned to a very busy agenda, and I have several projects that I needed to complete. I have a couple. I didn't bring the hardware because it's up running. I can show if I can connect. How do you connect to the screen?
Well, you're probably going to have to come down here and use the HDMI because our Chromecast just is not working right.
Want to?
Okay.
That's because you're not
Thank you.
running Windows.
I am running Windows, and it is because I'm running Windows that our Chromecast just
Thank
isn't
you.
working right.
We'll be casting the aspersions on Windows.
He can speak freely.
Yeah, we gotta wait till Frank's here, so he can.
Yeah,
at
it's
least
no good.
defend.
And neither
Well,
is
Marcus.
Marcus. Yeah, we need both of those here.
Yeah, Marcus and Frank.
There you go. So I did have a couple of problems to solve. One was related to the 3D printer. A few months back I get a 3D printer, and one thing I learned doing that is these take forever to print some things. Okay, some of the things I was printing take 26 hours to print.
Wow.
Because you're running an extruder, it's not very advisable to leave it unattended. So basically, I got stuck watching these machines for many hours. I have this machine in the basement, so I have to go up and down all day long, checking that everything.
Just put a
works.
cot next to it, you know?
Well, so here is the solution, Octoprint. There's a solution out there, open source code. You install it in a Raspberry Pi, and basically now you control the whole thing through that Raspberry Pi. It has a ton of advantages. One is you can remotely check and see what's going on with your printer. This is printing right now, and
That's
basically
live right now.
it's live right now, and basically you can check that it's working.
I so need to do this.
So it's great. So if I need to step up like now, I keep an eye on my phone and everything is okay. If I need it, something happened, I can switch off everything from here and that's it. The other advantage is I can be in my office. I work a ton from my home office upstairs and have another interface in my local network, and I can control everything in that printer. I can upload the file I want to print, change parameters, doing everything. Great solution. I will recommend to anyone that is doing any kind of 3D printing. So that was very, very successful. The second one is a problem of a friend. He lives very up north in Michigan, and he's a boating guy. So he's part of a club in Charlie Boy's lake there.
Up near Traverse City.
Yes, up north, yeah. And he wanted to have a big display with a presentation running there in the reception of their club. Say, hey, how we can do this? So they were thinking and put a computer, say, look, the Raspberry Pi seems like a perfect fit for this. So what I was trying to do is something that if he is not there in the club, he can prepare a presentation and remotely doing that. So the first attempt was very straightforward. Basically, I set up the Raspberry Pi, set up the VNC so he can access remotely to the Raspberry Pi and download the presentation, for example. But the other thing I did there is I created a very small script that when the Raspberry boot up, automatically launch that presentation by itself. And that works fairly well. So let me show you here. So this is the VNC. I'm going to connect to that computer now. It's running in my basement. I just testing. It's not live yet. I'm going to bring it to my friend next week. So basically, this is the script. Automatically, you shut down the Raspberry Pi and power up again. It will automatically launch this. And using VNC, basically, you can go here and so because it's run by the script automatically, because I ended the show, it's also closing. In this case, is LibreOffice Impress. And basically, you have access to the computer. You can update it remotely, so it works well. However, when I was digging on how to solve it, there are countless ways to do this. Okay, and every time I look, I can find new ways to do it. So I was exploring other ways. A quite interesting one is very simple, using Google Slides. You can create the presentation in Google Slide or in PowerPoint, and then you import it there. And then you can, there is an option there that says public to the web. So when you select that, it creates a link, and if this works,
Library's a little slow, so.
okay. So you copy that link and you paste it in the browser, and basically it will keep running there. So also a very simple way without the travel to go to the script. So it was quite another good alternative.
Yep, very simple. Dumb enough for me.
So I just say the link here in this case. Basically, if you select it, automatically will load up and start to cycle.
See, Chrome's got a lot of modules you can use too, like a time clock and all kinds of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. While this load, there is a third one that I also explore, which is the Balena OS. I don't know if you have used it before. Balena is a company that has been acquiring other technologies, including Etcher, that is very common in order to flash the SD card for the Raspberry Pi. And they are focused in this Balena operating system that is focused on IoT. But they have another application that is called Balena Dash, and basically it's to do this. And I think it's the perfect solution just to have an e-signature. The only problem I have, and that's why I'm not implemented yet, is the presentation gets uploaded, cycle through, but doesn't loop around. Just stop at the end. It should work, okay? The instruction says that it should work, but something is going on. So I'm in contact with them and trying to solve it. If that works, that will be the most straightforward, because it's very interesting. You go to their dashboard, you select what kind of device you are going to use, Raspberry Pi in this case, you define what is going to be the Wi-Fi connection, and basically gives you an image that you flash into the SD card, you put it in your machine, in your Raspberry, and it's all set. You don't need to ever connect the mouse, keyboard, anything. And then you manage all from a console, and you can have hundreds of these things or manage through internet. Very, very interesting. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but it worked.
It's slow.
It's slow.
Our link is
it's
slow.
us.
Okay.
It's the library's link.
It's the library.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Very cool. It's you again. It's you again.
You can't run.
You jumped line.
Okay. My name is Mike, and I have a quick question. Has anybody looked at the array generated from a Raspberry Pi camera to see whether you can address individual pixels? The idea that I had, and it's just formative, you guys know that I have a lathe that I have created, and I was thinking that in order to control the position of the head as it traveled down the bed, it would be interesting to put a pinhole on the lathe head, shine a laser through the pinhole into a Raspberry Pi camera, and look at the pixel that was illuminated, and then based on the pixel that was illuminated, go back to a stepper motor and raise or move the lathe head so that it stayed in alignment. I don't know whether anybody has worked with the array that is generated off of the Raspberry Pi.
Talk to him. Not off the Raspberry Pi. Hey.
Through the camera.
I did it with the Raspberry Pi. I did it with the ESP32 with the camera. I remember. It's more image.
Yeah, I don't know if you need a Raspberry Pi to do all that. A microcontroller probably could do it, right?
But maybe I need a draw. What I do.
I'm thinking I got a really cheap $3.14 Raspberry Pi, so why
It was good to use.
Yeah, why put something else? Having looked at the routers that are available on now, they have an imaging system that allows them to know where they are on the surface. And you provide the power to move the router around. Shaper Origin is the one I'm thinking of. And they control the router head within which you're holding. So as long as you're within their specs, they will move the router with some precision. And if, for example, you're doing an inlay and the inlay is too tight, you can go back and say, I want to take 1/100th of an inch off of that pocket. And you simply tell it, expand the cutting area by 1/100th of an inch. And it will guide you on the little screen through the pathway. I'm thinking if they can do that with Shaper Origin, I should be able to control my location of the head on the lathe more easily than what they're doing. It's not a complicated thing. It just says stay in this one spot.
You need to put something like a ground glass in front of it for the beam to hit.
Translucent.
Yeah. And at that point, yeah, you're just getting an XY out of it and talk to some servos. The theories should be easy.
Okay.
I don't think you need a pinhole anywhere on it. That'd be only to get two things to one position. If
Well,
you're trying to move something relative to a beam.
Okay, the reason I was thinking pinhole is because most of the lasers that I've looked at, the beams are not well columnated, and even though it's only about 15 feet, 10, 15 feet, they're pretty broad. And I would like to be able to get more narrow than that. Maybe it's pipe dream, but I would like to have more precision with the head than I would get with a full laser beam.
Yeah, the laser beam will be as wide as the sensor in the camera. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But if the beam is hitting a piece of frosted glass, you can go, I'm looking for a dot this big. And you can, the bigger the dot is, the brighter it is, and the easier it is to sense. If you run it through a pinhole, you cut down the intensity, which makes it a little harder to sense. I mean, either way should work.
Well, I was worried about getting diffraction rings too, with a single.
Well, you'll get that with a pinhole.
Yeah, but I
the
could just
edges of
get
Of course, that gives you a target, so that may work in your favor.
You're in trouble.
Two more.
Well, anyway, that's what I was thinking.
Fine.
No, I want them now.
Oh.
Okay, I'm Ken. I got nothing going on. I'm good.
You're probably in good shape for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You don't want it?
Nice to meet you. I'm Leo. Leo? Good to meet you. Yeah, I haven't been here since we went out to DC. I'm not doing anything cool. electronics wise, but today I figured out how to interface with an Asterisk phone server to create recordings and to leave them, transfer the channel, whatever call you're on, and wait for silence and play any recorded messages you want. So for a customer, and I don't know, pretty happy about that. It's just, 2.5 hours of work, and I feel like I'm almost smart enough to be in this room with you guys. Anyway, so I was just doing some coding today for trading my brain for money. So
You're up, Steve.
I'm Steve.
He's Steve.
I'm exhausted. We've been doing pen testing at work, and I've been madly running around in circles trying to undo things. So all sorts of fun. And then I got caught in traffic on the way here.
Nice.
On your asterisk, see if we make a script that'll press 1 when it hears for your credit report, and then talk to the human for as long as possible. Keep them annoyed and busy.
that'd be great. I was thinking about
There's
spinning
a
up my
start to
own.
that script. It's called the sales call script or something. I don't remember what it is, but it talk to such and such, press 1, and it goes in loops forever. It never lets them out. That's a pretty popular script.
So you're the person that I want to get a hold of when I get in this fucking loop.
No, not me, man. I'm innocent.
You're
I'm
up,
trying to do
Jeremy.
it to other people.
Jeremy's not paying any attention. You're up. Who are you? What are you doing?
Let's see. I'm Jeremy, and let's see. I've mostly been doing electronics wise. I've been making up new scripts for my new USB rubber ducky. So, yay! I've also been I think that's my current electronics project at the moment.
Would you mind? I'm not sure what a USB rubber ducky. Why is that little?
It's basically a USB device which when you plug it in, it injects keystrokes.
It says on the keyboard. It's an
It says
HID
I'm a
device.
keyboard, and then it runs through a preset script. Like right now I have a couple scripts. One of them is a demo script which goes through. It opens up the command line, it opens up the text editor, and then it puts in. This is why you don't plug in strange USB devices. And the other one's a demo script to it goes in and it writes it writes a text file to this.
It's 100 miles away.
Into the documents folder.
A good use for one of those. I've got 4 or 5 of them at work.
Like a virus transporter.
Take care of Taylor right now.
Once a minute, it
They're
taps the
getting right
space
in.
bar. It keeps
Most of these
the
in.
screen from locking.
This is
So
like the last
when somebody
one.
brings me their laptop, this is
It's
broken.
kind of crazy.
I have them log in, I plug that thing in, and I don't have to sit there with it. And if I go to lunch, it's still waiting for me when I come back.
Right, so it doesn't lock. That's smart.
And mine actually moves the
That's
mouse
not-
rather than the space bar.
That's
It
insane.
works well.
And I guess it looks like a rubber ducky.
What kind of dog?
No.
No.
So
where's the name? What's the naming
I don't know
convention
the
of
name,
rubber
Dave.
ducky?
yeah, I don't know either.
My questions are be very careful in saying my questions here, particularly with Leroy, but it applies to others also.
So I've had this
10 minutes
question for the
more.
last
You want to know?
week, rattling around in my skull. So here's a stupid question. So pretty much everybody's done the experiment. You take a bowl full of water, you sprinkle pepper on it, you put a drop of soap in the middle, and the pepper runs to the outside because the soap reduces the surface tension. The effect is soap makes water wetter. Why do soap bubbles work?
A home version, anything go.
If it reduces the surface tension, it should be easier to blow a bubble in water than in soapy water.
I don't remember exactly how it works, but I don't think it's quite the same thing, because like the bubble is like, I don't remember exactly how it works. It's not quite the same mechanism. Well, I guess it's related, but not quite the same mechanism. It's like mostly soap or something.
All I remember is if the soap bubble stops showing colors, it's thinner than the wavelength of light.
Visible light.
Yeah.
Visible light, that's correct. And that's all I can see.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go, boop,
Yeah.
because they
Still
evaporate.
enough
Yeah, there's
though,
not very
man. They
much
all
left.
run like within a neck of each other. Although even the first gen.
I captured a soap bubble in a baby food jar.
Now that you
once.
asked the question, it's gonna bother me.
Yeah, it's been bothering me. I've been trying to just think it through rather than Google it.
But it's so.
It's 100 and
So you
something.
kept
Usually
this
last
and you
winter
kept
when
it
soap
from
bubbles
evaporating?
were freezing.
And so how long did it last?
A couple of days. It slowly got smaller,
Well,
but not very quickly. And then I got bored of it.
yeah.
Like if you'd
So you
had,
captured a bubble in a baby.
if you'd had a pad,
That's the Asus.
something absorbed that had water stuck to the lid,
Mhm.
it probably wouldn't have, maybe it wouldn't have.
Well,
shrunk
it didn't. Well, no, it still would have shrunk because it's still compressing.
Right, you don't know
and
what's actually
you
in
get
the
osmosis
bubble.
through it.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
But
look, it's up.
it never did pop. I assumed it dried
it's-
out.
It's
some crazy stuff.
The bubbles are repulsion and attraction of water, because the way the soap works is like one end attracts water and the other end repels water, and so they all line up, and so it's actually holding onto the water and forming like a wall and stuff. That's why the bubbles happen. It's not the same mechanism.
There's too many people buying that and reselling.
Okay.
Interesting, like weird application for it. You can use dish soap to thin fountain, I think. In very tiny quantities, it works. It's weird.
This is working.
So I guess nobody really did a real project this week, did we? Does anybody want to do a project for next week?
Got stuff.
I didn't bring mine.
Oh, we missed Mark. Mark, you have to
He came in
you have
late.
to say who you are and what you're
I have a
doing.
project. I didn't bring
What if I don't know?
You don't know who you are or what you're doing.
Can fit right in. Oh, wait, it looks like we have a new president. Finch president.
Do you know who you are or what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm Mark, and I've got stuff from a few years ago. I don't know if anybody's interested in it, but since I brought it, I can.
Stuff.
If anybody is interested. So this was an attempt to do GPS stuff a couple of years ago. And so one company that you probably know is uBlocks, and they're based in Switzerland, but they have an office near DC, and they did a lot of writing about ground planes for their antenna, and so they had a development kit, and that's what's in this big box. I just took it out of the old box that was too old, and so their antennas are actually like this, but then they're magnetic, and then they go like that. And they also have these that can screw on the boards. I'll pull all that out of here in a minute.
What board did they actually give you in that deck?
Okay, this is called the Neo, I think it's MP8. So I haven't looked that up on Google.
Don't get rid of those.
What's that?
Don't get rid of those.
Get rid of them, all right. And so this was a development kit that, the idea of it, I think we were investigating RTK at that point.
Yeah.
And this other thing, it's RTK also, but that's from Taiwan. This one's from uBlocks, so the boards look like this. I mean, it's just a little board.
we'll throw those in my car and that's actually what I was about ready to order.
Okay. We're good. So this wasn't cheap. I mean, it's a
No.
but we never really got it to work either.
No.
This is the base, says here, in handwritten, I mean, we wrote it.
So just
It's,
for the disclosure, I'm trying to help do a GPS project, and I was going to order some of these MP8s or M8Ps or whatever they are,
right, whatever.
and
Well, these are from a couple of years ago, so this is the rover, it says here. So, but we could never get it to work. Chris Hodout took it out to a park, and, I mean, for a while he was trying to do it near a window, and that didn't work, and then he took it out to a park. And he collected lots of data, sent it to uBlocks, then I ran into uBlocks at a conference in Michigan. I think that was 2 years ago, this summer, exactly 2 years ago. And uBlocks had a big booth, so I talked to them, and they didn't really think it was going to work. The people there, even the guy who was in charge of it, and he asked the questions: did we call uBlocks and this, and there's, send them the files and everything. So anyway, that's where this stands, and this was one of the boxes that came in. Yeah, so it says C94-M8P, so I got the letters transposed.
I was getting ready to order an M8P board, so
Okay, so I've
for
got two
for the
boards,
project
two-
that we're talking about. So you've got two of them, so
So you can
let's just.
have it, look at it, whatever you
A lot has actually changed in 2 years, and there's actually really good information about how to make those things actually do what they're supposed to do.
Super. And I've got a lot of the old information right here. But, so be it. This other one is from Taiwan, and it also purported to work with RTK, which RTK receives corrections, hence the two boards. One is the base unit that you can tell it exactly where it is. So, I mean, these also work in states. The state of Ohio has many towers. The state of Michigan has a whole lot because of the water traffic there. But this is an attempt by these two companies to, give you a base unit. This says base on that. Chris wrote base on it, and then therefore this is the rover, and this is the one that you'll see it in advertisements. I think still it says Sky TRA. Oh, maybe I think it's got a Q in a different color. I think it's Sky Track, yeah. So,
Do you remember how far you're supposed to have the antennas, the receiver antennas so far apart?
oh, I don't remember any of that, yeah. I mean,
Meters or something?
well, no, I mean, the idea is you can put the base unit here, and then that has a radio link. So the idea is to have a radio link, and then you can go, quite a ways. This one, he tried by this connection, but he may have put the antenna. I don't know. I don't remember. These also have similar antennas. I don't know if we ordered these separately. I think these came with, because of the connectors are nice connectors. And this says GPS and GLONASS. And the uBlocks tends to support, the four different. So there's the Galileo is European, and Chinese have something that starts with a B.
There is no
But he did. I mean, when he was at the Hive and put this in the window, think it was this unit, and use those antennas as a ground plane. We saw many satellites according to that. You know, it just had like a scrolling thing of all the satellites we were seeing, but we couldn't get,
He couldn't make
get
it
the
work.
whole thing in its totality. That's right. And so at some point we had to move on, and I get busy with those.
Galilee is one I
Mark
flying
Ward
2 weeks
and
ago.
stuff like that. But
All 24 of them are dead.
Mark, you said that there was a
It came back up
and we talked
for
little
a
bit
short
about
period of time and went back down
various
again.
ways of-
And nobody knows why.
What are the corrections and how those work?
okay, the idea of the corrections is that
There was two in
the
test
signal
mode.
will
I don't know.
uh,
I
vary.
They
from
came
day to day.
online for
So
24 hours and went back offline, and nobody knows why.
the idea is that even though the signal varies, so say I'm a tower, GPS receiver.
What's it cost to
tower
put up 24
in Michigan, and here's
Sooner or
the-
later they'll figure out why.
Right. Okay,
Here's somebody
so
pushing
everybody
back
knows
firmware.
where that tower is, you know, its latitude and its longitude.
Yeah.
And, but yet
Microsoft showed an
the signal
update.
from, you know, the information content from the
The
satellite
Linux kernel failed.
tells that it's 10 meters off that day, 10 meters west of where we all know it really is. And then, so it knows that, hey, all the receivers near me ought to get a correction of 10 meters. I mean, this is me talking, I'm not an expert, so I'm not trying to.
I appreciate your explanation, even if you don't consider yourself an expert, you know a lot more about what you're talking about than I do.
Only because I've spent a lot of money and had no success, so that kind of an expert.
They claim 2 centimeter accuracy with these RTK boards.
Yeah, you can
Really?
get, I mean.
That's what they claim.
Yeah, and I've heard 4 centimeters by, so I mean, the best companies in the world, so far as I know, are Trimble
Yeah.
and Novotel in Canada, Trimble's in California. And there are some others in Europe that can do this. Leica, the optical company.
I've heard of
So
them. Yep.
they do stuff like that. So those are very expensive. I mean, Trimble has had RTK, they call us RTX.
Yeah.
So you can get corrections from different ways. You can get it nowadays over a cell phone signal. You know. And I mean, Trimble has had for tractors and combines for farmers the FM 750 for many, many years. And it has a video display, so you're combining, you know, a field or something, and it shows you where you are with a little graphic and that. And so
Helps you drive in a straight line, basically.
well, you do indeed drive in a straight line, but they care about it because now they apply line, you know, based on, you know, so first you go through your field, you know, and send it to an extension agent from Ohio State or something, and then in your county, and then they send it off, and they say, well, they come back with a map of where you need more line, you need to apply more of this and more of that, and you don't need as much here and there. So not only for combining, but for just application line and other stuff farmers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a big deal in farming for the last 20 years, you know, that kind of thing. So that's kind of so they use RTK. They a lot of people advertise 4 centimeters. I think Trimble will say that.
Yeah.
So when somebody says 2, that's great. But I mean, you're right down there, and
What is that? Like that?
Less
it's
than
a
an inch.
couple inches.
Yeah, an inch is 2.54
per
centimeters.
inch.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 inches or less, you know, 1 inch, 2 inch, that kind of thing. But indeed, that's what they say. And you can achieve it. So self-driving cars
Yeah.
spend $20,000 for a Novotel unit or a Trimble unit.
Right.
And Trimble for farmers has always sold also subscriptions. So you pay a certain amount per month, and you pay a certain amount per year, and
You get the corrections.
you get the corrections through
through that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Steve has pointed out that you can get corrections from the state if you know how to do it for free, maybe. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these two products are an attempt to have your own base station, you know, if you know where you are in a park and you know the exact, then you can feed that in, and if you're 5 meters off that day, then that is the correction, and then on like that. So anyway, that's.
I actually saw somebody claiming millimeter accuracy, and I was like, I don't think so, because everybody else is saying between 2 and 4
Well, I mean,
centimeters.
yeah, and that would be great. I mean, if we could get
Millimeter.
anything, we'd be doing great. So I don't know.
I don't think for your particular project or this particular project, millimeter accuracy will even matter. A couple of inch accuracy would be good enough.
Oh, right. And if it was a self-driving car, we'd expect to maybe pay $20,000. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going back 2 years when they were with no to tell.
I was going. I'm glad you brought those, because I was going to email you and say I'm going to order
Okay.
different ones. So.
Okay. Yeah, you can take a look at these and see what makes sense.
Because I had already said that I was beating my head against the wall, and I was. You know how you do that sometimes, right?
So anyway, that's what I said about them. So RTK is really cool, and if it can be made to work, I guess that's the caveat.
So how much are these modules?
I'm sorry.
How much are these modules?
Well, when you buy, I mean, the one from Taiwan was very reasonable, but I don't remember what that was. And then the
Well, by reasonable, are you talking hundreds, thousands?
no, not thousands. And I think it may have been 100 or 200. I don't think it was. I think it. Yeah, I can't remember actually whether it was $25 or but the antennas cost something. So
That was 2 years ago money too.
yeah, and you could look it up. That SkyTrack. I mean, you could try to see what.
Yeah, I was trying to see what these cost, but they don't actually say. They.
Okay. Yeah. And
I mean, they don't sell this on Amazon?
well, I know Vicente saw this a year ago. And I said we didn't have any luck with it, but I don't remember what the price was. The U-Blocks was more, but it was sold as a development kit, to take this and see what you can do with it. And that was, and there may be people who had a lot of success because they were, by now, because that was 2 years ago and they were,
Yeah. Looks like low end 95.
is that the SkyTrack?
Yeah, that's the sky.
So you can't see with them. Your sunglasses in here.
$80. That's just for the module. $130 for the eval board. And a survey grade antenna is $120, which is nuts.
Is that dome one?
Yeah, the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and surveyors that I've seen with the sticks and everything, that can cost you
Yeah.
$12,000.
Yeah, thousands
they
of dollars.
They tend to have a domed antenna like that on, but yeah, the ones I've seen. I've stopped down there in Reading. There's somebody that sells survey equipment down there, and for whatever they were selling, that was thousands and thousands of dollars, which may make sense for a survey.
I was looking at SparkFun boards.
Well, I thought that's how we got started on these from, I thought SparkFun, my memory's not that great, but going back to you. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But they were $200.
Okay, that's from SparkFun.
That's from Park.
Is
That's the slightly newer model of it too.
Is that from, okay, so that's using the U-Blocks chip.
Yeah.
The Neo MAP
Yep.
is the U-Blocks chip.
Yep.
Yeah, that could, I mean, it could be that they have it where they want it now because they were just starting. I think I bought it too soon. You know, they came out with it.
Like everything, you buy it early, you put up with trying to figure it out.
Your Pioneer is very expensive.
You're on the bleeding edge.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes you pick beta, sometimes you don't.
There's also a M8Q model, which I forget what the difference was, but there was some difference. And there's a significant price difference too.
Yeah, but I remember they had a queue that they were working on them too, but I can't. My memory's not that good anymore.
Yeah, I forget what it's still. I read the spec sheet on it. It still did the RTK, but differently. It was different. It was cheaper. It was a lot cheaper. Anyway, that's that.
Yeah, that's all I know.
That's all I know. I don't know anything. I know what I know, and that's not much. Anybody?
I did
Anybody?
have a gem of wisdom for my cameras, my wireless security cameras. I noticed one of my room monitors would get slow and the frame rate would just drop to near zero. I didn't know what it was. I tinkered with it and thought maybe because it was in the room was a router, I was overloading the signal or something of that nature. But what I found was I got a chip, what do you call them? The stupid CD, micro SD chips, with a very high throughput, and it just is perfect now. So I'm finding out that some of these SD cards with the Type 10 rating are slow. And I noticed when I copy files off of them, even with a Type 10 rating to my Windows PC, that I copy in like 5 and 6 megabits per second. And this guy, I copy him over and I can't even read it. It's just too fast. But it's like above 18 or 20. So it looks like it's jamming up some of my surveillance cameras. You have some that use the SD chips in the camera themselves. So I found a vendor, I've been sticking with them. $5 for a 32 gig.
What's the vendor?
It's I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link and put it in the meeting announcements.
Those cheap
$5
ones,
for a 32.
the read speed can be good, but the write speed is sometimes really low. And maybe when you were getting those periods of slowdown, maybe it was trying to do some of that location management.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the SD cards do that at all.
These are rated. They're HC1, I think.
You are writing and erasing at the same time. You have like a 24 hours recording.
These are not 24 hours.
Are you filling up and that's it?
If they overwrite oldest, is that?
Or you write all files, all images.
It's there. It saves the old images and it's communicating. It's just a wireless camera.
Well, it never erases the images.
No, this one never erases the image. It just fills up, stops. But Yeah, something was getting it, and then Type 10 should have a spec on write speed, but this has a HC1 spec, I think it is, and I noticed just copying it off of there, it's fantastic. I first noticed it, I got it from my SP019, that's a 2 megapixel version of the cheap camera. It's about $35 these days. That I had some issues, something going on, and that's why I got these. So I'll send you a spec. I'll put a note in the meeting announcements. But the higher speed is very impressive.
So you
copying
said
it over. HC1 is one of the specs.
Henry Charlie.
One. I'll send you the link so you know exactly what it is. But they're noted for, they advertise them for, it's the Super Ultra. They have Ultra and this is Super Ultra. And it is big difference. Makes my cameras work.
Cool.
Next will be Mongo Super Ultra.
Yes.
And then also, I found this guy I got upgraded to a later version, a bigger version of my PC. This seems to affect the cameras also. The OnVIF cameras do communicate with this guy. Sometimes I notice if I rebooted my E4 Moto E thing, that my network problems would clear up. And sometimes it was associated with the PC. I don't know if it's Wi-Fi related or just what the heck it was, but it seemed to affect, and I'd reboot it and it'd be fine. This one's much better, it's much faster too. So having more horsepower seems to help that also. Just junk.
So somehow or another your phone was bogging down your network?
Yep.
Oh God, yeah. Apple's notoriously bad for it. Well, it was on mine anyways, because Apple will take 100% bandwidth. So if it probes out to the internet and says, "Oh, I have a 2 gig update,"
It goes swoop.
That's my internet, for the next 7 hours. So
My thing wasn't related to that directly. Work has just now said that people are allowed to listen to audio on their computers. Yeah, Spotify, and so for the last 2 weeks, I've gotten dozens of
slowdown complaints.
no, people using Apple headphones in a Dell computer, and it doesn't sound right. Yeah, you chose Apple. You have it. There's a standard that started in something like 1912 for tip and ring on a phono jack,
Yeah.
and
Apple doesn't follow it.
and Apple decided to change the order. Sorry about your luck. Go to Walmart, $3. You can get a set of headphones and they'll sound $100, 100% better.
Leroy, I do have one other thing.
Yeah.
So the companies I mentioned that have the $20,000 staff, yeah. Well, there is at least one company that is trying to take that and put it in a $500, $600 package, and that's called Swift Navigation. So if you want to bring that up, it's got the other thing that GPS has, it has more than one band. So most folks use the L1 band, and there's also an L2 band, and there's probably more bands in the area that I don't even know anybody's about. Nobody knows. But the Swift Navigation says they have the L1 band and the L2 band, and they also have all 4 systems. So, in Galileo is European. They have 2 bands for that, G1, G2. I don't know what they call them. Okay, and then they have a evaluation kit, which I think you were pointed at on the picture. And then they also have a hardened thing. The yellow package on the right is they call Duro. So that's their hardened package to go in that's like a finished unit that's in a hardened package. And
Bounce around.
that's what that is. And then so those are their four main products. But the one that's a raw board there, that's one that has that is an evaluation kit for RTK. And so I assume if you click on that, I was looking at it on my cell phone. Okay, so the evaluation kit is at all the pieces and parts that are at the upper left, including 2 antenna, 2 boards, all the cables and stuff.
Oh,
Okay.
Hey, that's not too bad.
That's the
What-
price. $2,300.
Well, that's your evaluation kit, and I think that, I think they sell some stuff for, so that's why I stayed away from that, it was higher price, but it's still not, it has all probably not exactly all, but most of the capabilities from Trimble or Novatel. So these guys do have a lot of capabilities. And they also have an IMU on it. They work with a company in Pittsburgh called Carnegie Robotics to do the IMU that they have. Anyway, it's got lots of capabilities.
So the bottom's for the US and the top's for Europe?
No, it's just different frequency.
well,
Well, it's 915
Nine-
megahertz versus
yeah.
2.4 gigahertz.
915 can be used legally without a license in the U.S.
Yeah.
and 2.4 can be used anywhere in the world,
Okay.
as well as the United States.
So those are the radio.
Are we still part of the world?
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if we're part of the world or not.
We'll find out when we finish Siege in Area 51, right?
When I was working with a pipe fitter one day, he was putting flanges on, and 4-volt flanges, and threw a couple bolts through there to level on there, and I said, I was wondering how you guys did that, whether you did a level like that or diamond shape, how you got it level. It's done that way throughout the civilized world of parts of Kentucky.
Only parts, though.
Only parts.
Only parts.
Have you guys talked about the maker space that they're building in the part of the computer lab or all the computer lab?
Down here?
Yeah, you guys talked about that?
Not
Yeah.
Not really. I sort of hinted at it 3 or 4 weeks ago that because my dad works at the Middletown Library, and he got a memo across his desk that said that it was coming.
Well, my daughter works here and part-time now, and she saw the same memo and mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
So,
Laser cutters, 3D printers, something else.
So what do you have to have, a library card or what?
I would,
We don't
I
cut
would
that,
guess
yeah.
so.
We'll cut that.
We could 3D print you one of those.
Well, on that lead, do you have a library card to any library? They have that capacity.
You can have one in 5 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're happy to
what's-
give you one.
What's this memo, is it top secret or?
It was, well,
Actually, the poster posted outside of it.
Yeah, now-
It says it's closing on it.
now they've kind of announced it, but when my dad told me about it, it was like an internal kind of thing that I guess they were still finalizing all the deal on it or something, and they were trying to put together what they were going to do there. But it's this glass room that's got all the computers in it that nobody uses. So they're going to actually take advantage of and turn it into an actual makerspace.
That's cool.
Or at least a partial. I don't know if they're going to bring like wood stuff in, but he said that they're definitely getting laser cutters and 3D printers.
When you say laser cutter, tell me what you mean by that.
Laser cut, like what Ray has? Like what Ray has?
But I've never seen one.
Oh.
It's a flatbed cutter, plastic.
Okay, so we're not talking like a silhouette cutter or anything like that. We're talking about the heavier materials.
It'd be a 2D cutter, and it's probably gonna, I don't know if they, how they say, but it's gonna be a, I would doubt it's more than 100 watts, so you can cut 1/4 inch plywood, plastic, any plastic.
Have there
doesn't
one
create
simpler
chlorine
one to
gas,
show.
And,
Yeah,
plastic
it's going to be
cut
something
wood,
similar to
cloth.
this.
Okay, so these are CO2 lasers?
CO2 lasers.
Well, yeah, but not high. Normally
Yeah.
you say CO2, you're like
Well,
really high power ones, but
Well, it's the
100
same-
watts is pretty darn.
It's the
powerful.
same, it's the same
They
wavelength.
go down to 20.
yeah, Ray sells them down to that one's a 60 watt laser and an 80 watt. It could be an 80 watt. So I can't imagine them getting anything bigger than maybe 100 watt.
there's a makerspace by Micro Center called the Manufactory.
Yeah.
I go drive past it all.
I'm a member there, and they have 2 of Ray's. They had a third one. Ray took it back, I guess.
It was on loan.
They didn't buy it. Yeah. It was really small, and they just used it for engraving
Yeah.
glasses. Anyway, I've seen people cut leather, cloth, paper, cardboard, plywood, acrylic, and then you can use them. There's cutting. I've also cut foam. I make a lot of props for our church, for the stage, and that 1/2 inch insulation foam is a really great thing, easy to cut, and on a CNC or on the laser, and it's rigid. And then a lot of people use it to engrave as well, so you can photo engrave or whatever. I made a couple weeks ago. I made some silly string shotguns for the Loveland Stage Company. They were having a kids musical called Bugsy Malone Jr. And I guess they had this weapon escalation scene where some kids had some silly string guns, the kind you buy at Walmart. You pull the trigger and it shoots, has the string hanging down. And my friend asked me if I could make a shotgun, 3D print him a shotgun that had 2 cans, because he found a review of one in Australia. They're not for sale here, but I guess you can get them in Australia. Well, I actually watched the review, and the problem is they're laying on their side, and so you get a little bit of string and mostly propellant, because they're on their side and the hose is not in the liquid. So I designed a 3-can shotgun with a clip.
Gatling gun.
Yeah, I took some pictures, but I made it at the manufacturer. So it's got a 3-can clip. So there's 1 in the front and 2 behind it, and they all shoot, down this large, I got a 2.5 inch cardboard tube, and then I got a wooden stock, and I have a thumb trigger on the top. Push the trigger down, and it pushes down all 3 heads, and it's a floating head.
Cool.
So it worked really, really well. So you got 3 streams, 3 different colors coming out of this shotgun, and it shot pretty far, and so that was a big success. And I kind of designed that on the fly, and so some of it. So my platform head, I used a laser cutter. I cut out this rounded triangle, and I engraved this graduated circle, because all the cans, it's just like a spray paint can, and the head is angled, and I wanted to keep them lined up down the chute and apply equal pressure, so I wasn't just pushing on the front tip, which would make them point down. So I used the laser to engrave. First you do your engraving, then you do your cutting. It doesn't fall and shift. And so that worked really, really well. So doing this graduated engraving, I got an angled, a circle with an angled base, that matched the tops just right.
Several years ago, I saw a video where those strings were flammable, and the birthday party got fired across the...
Even better. So silly string flamethrower.
You just put a little candle in the front of the box and
Yeah.
So you
fire
could
shoot.
shoot napalm essentially, right? This stuff would burn and stick, right?
Kind of like the
Yeah.
1970s equivalent of lighting right guard, yes.
No, but that was you would get the flame, but with the silly string burning, you actually get a wad of something that stick to you and burn like napalm.
Like napalm.
Yeah.
It's
I-
bad stuff.
I was going to say though, the memo that my dad got never said who they were ordering the laser cutters from. So it may not be a rabbit laser that they get. It may be something else. These are just, they all pretty much
Yeah.
Yeah.
work the same, and they all pretty much look like that, only different.
They'll probably pay twice as much.
They'll probably pay way more than they should because
They didn't involve anybody with.
they didn't ask the right questions
Well,
or
they're
talk to the
government.
right people.
They're government, so they're taking advantage
So
of it.
it's expensive.
But
Instead of going to Ray right down the street.
that's more or less.
Thank you for answering my question. I didn't know whether we were doing cutting out paper or whether we were doing it.
Well,
And
it
so you
it
can
really
cut
it
any
really
laser.
depends on the power of the laser. So if they really cheaped out and only got 40-watt lasers, you're doing engraving.
No, you just make multiple passes.
Yeah.
I've cut 3/4 inch plywood, and it took like 5 passes.
Yeah.
You know, you can adjust the power, you can adjust the speed,
Yeah.
and you can adjust the number of passes. If you go really, really slow, you tend to catch
Fire.
material on fire. So you don't want to go really slow to get one pass. So, but a laser cutter is like it's like a sewing machine. It's it's like it's a needle. It's a needle of power, and then it moves. So when you engrave acrylic, your edges are ridged. It's like a bunch of columns that are missing.
The
Sorry.
science about Wandell on woodgears.com has an article from about 8 months ago. I think we talked about it here, about the setup and the alignment. That some of those are not perpendicular or normal to the face, and so you don't end up getting rectangles. You end up getting
Parallel fibers.
Yeah, I found out with like with foam, you want to make sure that your image is you're cutting the front facing part of your image is on top, because you get this concave because it melts. So
Shrinks.
the top of your that edge is good, but anything below that edge it has melted away while the laser's working its way down to the bottom. Other materials are fine, like acrylic is stable enough and resists the heat enough, but it's very good. And I didn't realize you were that familiar. I'm sorry if I was explaining at a lower level.
No, sir.
How it works.
You did
So-
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So you tend to do multi-passes on the styrofoam to get straight?
No, that's very satisfying. It burns through in one pass because it's like cotton candy. But but you don't get a straight cut because it melts. If the edge was really, really important, then yeah, you would probably want to do a couple lower power passes.
If I could, for just clarification, please treat me as if I am a complete moron, because at times I am.
I'm there with you. So
He's
more so when my mouth is open.
He's not. He knows stuff.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
I just my phone went binka binkle, and that's what it was doing, and I'm like, huh. I don't know if I would have done that, but okay.
So it transmits from underwater.
I don't know if I would have taken.
What is it that he?
It's an ESP ESP32 that's running on a coin cell battery. I've been following this guy. He's designing them and selling them, but they don't run on
Did
They
he
don't-
epoxy it or seal it in any way?
It doesn't say.
You're assuming that's water.
Yeah, it could be mineral oil. or
Well,
something.
it says it's water. Now the water test.
Doesn't mean it
If
is.
it's really, really, really 10 meg ohm water, then no problem.
That's true. It's distilled.
But if it's ordinary water coming out of the tap, not recommended.
I just thought it was kind of funny. But I've been following this guy because it's an interesting device, even though he says that it only lasts about 5 minutes on a coin cell battery. So it's kind of interesting though. He's running he's got a ton of sensors on that board and all kinds of other stuff on a 2032 battery.
Is that for if you want to target something and just need to
For
lock
5
on for the
minutes.
missile?
I was going to say,
You just need it for
nose
5
of the
minutes.
missile,
Yeah.
that's all you need.
You just need it to be a beacon for a minute. And 3 to walk away.
I also saw this on Kickstarter. You might have seen it, but when I saw it, I thought about you. Actually, I did. It's an artificially intelligent camera, and it was $19. Oh, nice. Why is that huge?
Is this the focus on the camera?
There you go. That's because
Oh, it's like it didn't load it or something.
well, it's the
There we go.
as I say
Husky lens.
our awesome internet connection.
It's our awesome internet connection.
Husky Lens is a smart, easy-to-use artificial intelligence vision sensor designed to bring a new way for makers to build their projects. It comes with multiple functions such as face recognition, object tracking, object recognition, line tracking, color recognition, and tag recognition. By a simple click, Husky Lens will start learning things, just like this. To play with it, the application of Husky Lens is truly versatile, from smart robots to interactive art projects. The object tracking mode of Husky Lens is innovative. The machine learning technology enables Husky Lens to learn custom-defined pattern of finger gesture and recognize it. Creating a gesture interactive art project has never been so easy with Husky Lens.
Well, let's see here. Oh, it looks like all the $19 ones are already gone.
Well, of course they are.
Reward no longer available. So
How do you get in on the super early bird? I don't look enough. I don't look often enough to get super early birds.
so $30. Any
15's better, but 30.
Ski.
anyway, it intrigued me. I backed it, but I got in on the super early bird. I got it for $19.
You got one for him, right? Two?
No, I wanted to get a couple of them. They won't let you buy more than one at $20. It was like, ah!
But you waited till now to tell
How'd you
us.
find out about this, Leroy?
Oh, it's DF Robot, and I'm on their mailing list for all their random crap.
This is why I don't find out, because I will spend money.
Yeah. Why I don't watch that stuff.
The more you watch, the more you'll spend.
So is it currently shipping?
No, it's
November of
2019.
So
It's
if you haven't done a Kickstarter,
44 days left.
Kickstarter's awesome. People will go there and watch a commercial voluntarily, and then they will give their money 8 months,
A year.
ahead of time. They will prepay for stuff, and then wait for it. And
Been
yes,
5
and it
years
may
on
not
mine,
exist.
still waiting.
What are you waiting on?
What was it, Squadron 49?
Oh God.
did.
Oh my, that's
Okay,
what
obviously I have to Google
What squadron 49?
Squad he's hitting on?
So the guy that made the space simulator, the
Game.
game
You've heard about
Wing
this.
Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's old. That's old.
yeah, so he made a new engine in his lab and of super realistic space craft. So he did a Kickstarter. Oh God, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know, but Kickstarter was like brand new, and it has made the most money from any Kickstarter project in existence. It's still beta or alpha, because they said if they raised X amount of millions of dollars, they would come out with this feature. But since they raised like somewhere in the ballpark of $250 million, they've they're either milking the money-raising tree to the point that it's ludicrous, or the guy's on a beach somewhere while all the suckers are still waiting on the But, yeah.
More than likely, they're spinning their wheels trying to engineer the hell out of it, realizing we can't make this fun. Right.
They,
I mean, I backed games. Broken Age was created by the guy that did Day of the Tentacle and the motorcycle one. I can't. Games that I Full Throttle, yeah, and I played those 25 years ago and what